Today I'm sharing a recipe for a cake mix cake that's absolutely perfect for office parties, especially with Christmas just around the corner. Now my wife has made this cake at least a dozen times for her office parties and family gatherings, and she is constantly getting compliments and requests to bring it again. She's also really not into baking, but absolutely loves making this, and I think it has to do with all the compliments she gets. Actually, I know it does because she told me. It makes her feel like a pro baker. It's delectably moist, tender, and has a beautiful, unique light green hue that makes it irresistible. And it's super simple to make. I think that's why my wife likes making it as well. This is part 3 of my cake mix series, where in part 1, I shared a little bit about the history and importance of cake mix, and in part 2, I talked about how we could fix the shrinking box contents with a special Upmix, and finally here, I get to share one of the doctored cakes that my family enjoys. I appreciate you watching, and feel free to comment below if you have a favorite cake from cake mix or even from scratch. Oh, and in part 2, someone commented that he wasn't sure what Upmix was, so I want to be careful and just make sure that I'm going to post the recipe on the screen here for white and yellow and chocolate cake Upmix. And of course, it will be in the description below. With that out of the way, let's get started. Now this is optional, but you can blanch your pistachios and do your best to get the skins off. Add them to boiling water for 30 seconds to a minute, and then add it to an ice water bath. I think I went a little overboard on the ice, but anyways, I'm trying to get these as green as possible. And it's a lot of work for you, my audience, but I think it'll be worth it. And I'm gonna give these a rough chop and set them aside for later. Now I'm gonna preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and spray my bundt cake pan with as much spray I can handle. I just wanna make sure that this thing does not stick. Now I'll set that aside. Now in a mixer or a large mixing bowl, add 1 box of yellow cake mix. I'm using the Betty Crocker one at 13.25 ounces. That'll be important later. And then add 1 package of pistachio pudding mix. To that, we add 170 grams, or about 3/4 cup of sour cream or Greek yogurt, and then 160 grams, again, about 3/4 cup of butter or oil, or a mix of both, your choice. Then turn on the mixer on low and mix the ingredients up, and then add your Upmix to bring it back to 18.25 ounces. I'm adding 5 ounces because I used that Betty Crocker box, but check the size of your cake mix. As for the extra liquid, I will be adding it later because I want to check the consistency first. One at a time, I like to add 3 eggs, followed by 2 teaspoons, about 10 milliliters of almond extracts. You can use vanilla extract if you want instead. And then 120 milliliters, or a half a cup of milk or any milk alternative. In this case, I'm using cashew milk because that's what I have on hand. And with the pistachio and almond, I went for a 3-nut hat trick. That sounds way weirder than it should be. Anyway, once everything is in the mixer, turn it on slowly and slowly increase the speed. After about a minute and a half, I'll stop it to scrape down the sides. This is a new mixer I got, so I'm getting used to the size of it and its power, but I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons more of the cashew milk after getting a sense of the consistency from adding that extra Upmix. You want it to be a thick pancake batter, but not too heavy. Just use your good judgment. With that added, I'll turn the machine on low and add the chopped up and whole pistachios. This is also optional, but you're welcome to do it here. And hey, with Christmas colors being green, and I use the Wicked Cake Mix box, I'm gonna add some green food coloring. I know this could be controversial, but this is a natural food coloring from spirulina. I know some people have issues with food coloring, so that's why it's totally optional. And it even comes out a little blue, so I'm gonna add a bit more than I would think just to get that nice green hue. It's a really nice surprise when your guests cut into it. Now I'm gonna mix it up a bit more and scrape the sides down just to make sure that it's all mixed together and get this into the bundt pan. I'm gonna use my favorite, the ice cream scoop, for as much as I can. I find it really much easier to use at first. Once that's all in, I'm gonna scrape the bowl down with a spatula and get as much cake in there as I can. With a paper towel, I'm gonna clean up the sides of any of that cake that's left over. Pop it into an oven for 45 to 50 minutes until a skewer comes out clean. While that's baking, we can make the icing. Now I'm just adding 180 grams of powdered sugar into a bowl, and putting in some vanilla and almond extract, but you can choose just one. And now I'm adding about 4 tablespoons of milk to get a nice runny consistency. Back to the cake. 45 minutes did it, the skewer came out clean, and I'm gonna let it cool in the bundt pan for 20 minutes before I pop it out onto a wire rack. But look at that, it smells amazing. The pistachio, the almond, it's incredible. Now I'm gonna place the cake on a plate and drizzle the icing on. I'll top it off with some of those really green pistachios. I'm still not sure if all that extra work was worth it, but hey, they do look really nice on top of the cake. Wow, and that's it. It's a really fun cake to make with the kids, for your family, or especially for parties. You know, thanks to the Upmix, it's not overly sweet, but it's incredibly moist. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.